Good morning, Britain. US President Joe Biden sends more American troops to Europe, warning Putin is ready for bloodshed. Things look like little local, regional disputes and blow up into something that we can all be frightened of. Let's have a listen to what Boris Johnson said. We have talked to people who've got a good insight into the way that he operated yesterday, weren't we, about international action. What could he do? No. I mean, is there at any stage a real concern that nuclear weapon is? Secondly, the total ignoring this idea that, well, it's the way you treat your flat.
Yes, good morning. It's just on 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme. Listen, if we're your first kind of news check of the day, you'll want to know really what's happening. I suppose you could summarise the whole thing in that we're in the final countdown, aren't we? But that's the feeling. That's the mood music coming out of...
Seem to suggest that this was all calming down. You know, if you put field hospitals and blood supplies on the border...
That was so telling. I thought that was...
Suggests that Putin is hell-bent on actually going further and that this could lead to war, and people wondering yesterday whether sanctioning a couple of billionaires and a handful of banks is really the way to stop Vladimir Putin.
Well, it clearly isn't at the moment. I mean, he just seems to be laughing it off, doesn't he? It doesn't seem to have any effect on him at all. So clearly these calls...
Just as written in the Times this morning, we have a long list of those complicit in the actions of the Russian leadership. And should Russia refuse to pull back its troops, we can keep turning up the heat, targeting more banks, elites and companies of significance.
Well, there are apparently, reportedly, and this is widely reported this morning, there are about 50 Russian oligarchs who look after Putin's money, his personal fortune, and they're the guys to go after, because that's how you get to Putin. There's also the argument that we should shut down Russia's...
So those questions will be put to the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, today. It is Wednesday, and therefore it's Prime Minister's questions.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Canada, Japan and Australia have joined with the UK and the EU and the US in imposing a range of sanctions against Russia after Vladimir Putin ordered troops into those breakaway areas of eastern Ukraine.
Yeah, the Australian Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has warned that a full-scale invasion of Ukraine is very likely to occur within the next 24 hours. So we could be telling you about it this time tomorrow morning, as President Biden says that he's moving additional US troops, more fighter jets and choppers to the Baltic states. We're going to be speaking to our...
News, of course, this morning. And we will discuss that with Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire in just a moment. First, though, here's Ria with Arden this morning. Morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Laura, thanks very much. Still to come on Good Morning Britain. He denies he's...
At 6:23, let's get the news, the travel and the weather wherever you're watching.
See you in a moment. In Ukraine, of course, on yesterday in the Commons about what we're doing on sanctions. Jack.
with masks on and hilarious, wasn't it? The first time you saw it?
No, it's because...
Smell. We're going to speak to that man. He's a student. He's on a crusade to solve poor social housing issues in the UK. And he said that Peckham case is an example of how social housing residents are simply overlooked and neglected. That's next.
Oh,
someday